meeting in February 10th. Mr. Michael Carroll for DBA Farm Street in Water Street.
Yes, Mr. Carroll. And you have his attorney?
Andrew Kagan, I appeared with you before.
Yes.
You had asked Mr. Carroll be here today. You had also asked that Joseph Souza, who is
Correct.
the landlord, be here.
Correct.
So we'll all get answers.
Okay. Okay, I'll open the question up to my fellow colleagues on the council. I'm looking for a motion first of all.
So moved.
Motion by Tia,
Second.
seconded by Stephanie. All in favor signify by saying aye. No nays? No, under discussion, you threw me off, Sonia.
We just made a motion.
Okay, any questions? Stephanie?
Discussion, yeah.
Yes.
I think at previous meeting when we first looked at this, we had some concerns about your hours of operation, given that the location anywhere in Central Falls is extremely residential. And we had some concerns about what your hours of operations would look like, operational.
I'd like to open from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday through Saturday.
That's how we had on the original application.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but, wasn't there also just one employee, one licensed employee?
Yes.
There was, you're gonna be open from 9 to 10, and you have one licensed employee.
I haven't opened the business yet. I actually signed this lease back in November, and I'm waiting for the proper license to open. So, as of this point, I can't possibly staff employees months ago, not telling them when I can open. I need to open with one employee, and then as I grow, hire another employee.
Council President, may I speak?
Absolutely, Tia.
Okay, so are you aware of some of the issues your previous tenant had at the location?
Well, I was told, when I asked Mr. Souza about the lease, I was told that he had a fire there, and the person was not under the lease anymore, that he was filing a motion to get him removed from the lease. I was originally asking about buying the business, which I believe was going, and then I found out at that point that he was no longer in business. And at that point, I just said, if you can fix up the building and it passes all the codes, then I would be interested in occupying it.
May I ask you where you currently live?
I live in Jewett City, Connecticut.
So, what brings you to Central Falls?
Well, I was told that that business was for sale, and if I could find someone that maybe wanted to purchase it. And when I called Mr. Souza to check on the lease, and he told me that that gentleman that was there before, whatever, was on his way out. I thought it would be an opportunity for me to occupy it and have a business there, being that I did not want to get a new place and remodel. So the opportunity basically came into my lap, and that's why I ended up in Central Falls with the lease.
Do you know anybody personally that owned the previous business, Simple Pleasures?
I only know the guy's name as Brian. That's the only name that I know.
Do you intend to be there for day-to-day operations?
Sure, I intend to be there, especially at the very beginning. I would hope that I can get a little bit busy and I can hire someone to help me. But at the beginning, it's just not many employees, and starting out, and I'm going to be there all the time.
Do you currently have any other businesses in Jewett City or that area?
Right now, no, I do not.
Have you in the past had businesses in Jewett City or
No.
parts of that area? So you've never owned a business before? It's your first business?
Yes.
Do you want to ask?
Yeah.
Go ahead if you have a
Yeah,
question.
well, I'll
I
go back
do, but
to
go
you.
ahead, yeah.
Mr. Carroll, so at this point, you want to amend your hours, is that correct? Because your original application had till midnight, even on Saturday, even on Sunday.
When I told him, I just assumed that this was competitive hours. And when he told me from the last meeting that that might be a sticking point, that the city really didn't want them open till 12, I told him I had no problem with
Who told you that?
my attorney.
I relayed,
That was based on what, the last
February
hearing?
10th hearing today.
Yeah, I
based
don't,
on your comments of last year, and obviously.
that was your assumption, because we didn't say that, we hadn't even discussed hours. We had some concerns, but be that as it's made. So what is your intention of hours and days of the week?
From what my hours, what I would,
Yes.
my hours?
Yes,
From 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week.
7 days a week. You have never ran a business of this nature?
I have not.
Okay. So you have no idea what type of business it would be, say, after 6 o'clock on a Saturday night or after 6 p.m. on a Sunday? You have no clue how many people would actually be in a massage parlor, do you? I mean, you're assuming you would go right to that time on Saturday and Sunday, you'd still have people coming and going?
Well, I would just like to have the opportunity to have people come in through those hours, maybe after work.
Okay. And how did you come by Central Falls? Did you know, this one on the Spartan properties, is that correct?
Yes,
Not Olympic properties? You also own Spartan properties?
Spartan Properties is an LLC. The
Okay.
building owns it.
I mean, we're just curious, and, you know, you're from Connecticut, we just wondered how you knew this was available. That was one concern that did come up with your lawyer.
When Brian, he's the previous owner of Simple Pleasures, I got word that Brian was selling a spa business.
You got word through,
I got word through an employee of Brian had contacted, or a friend of Brian, I don't even know if he actually worked there, contacted somebody who I knew who had worked there 5 years ago for a brief period. And that person asked me, or discussed if I knew anybody that might want to buy a business from Brian. So I just said, I'll look around, and then I called up to make sure that there was a lease, so at least I knew what I was speaking about. And then Joe told me that Brian was on his way out, and he didn't own that business anymore, and I was like, oh, what's going on with that? And he said, well, I'm kicking him out. And then I said, well, is this place going to be vacant? Would you like to rent it again? And he asked me, I said, well, it's the same type of business. And he said yes, and because I wouldn't have to remodel or do anything major, I said, okay, I'll take it over myself.
did Joe make you aware of what transpired there with the last owner?
Said
Or did the employee that worked there, did they, only a fire? That
No,
was-
he said also that, I said, well, they wouldn't throw you out for a fire. He said that the guy was a little unsavory and he did drugs, and when the firemen went in there, they found drugs. This is at least what I believe he told me.
Unfortunately, you went a little further than that. From my point of view, we perhaps don't have a reason to deny you such a license. However, we can control the hours, and we also can probably monitor your business a little more than normal, simply because of the fact of what happened with the previous type of business. That's the only comments I have. It's a big concern because that was a big problem. It was a problem for a while. We got past that, and I'll turn it over to my fellow colleagues. But you know, looking before us, number one, I personally have concerns with the hours, and also, as someone mentioned, someone licensed has to be there all those hours, and that could be a concern. But also, I'm curious why you would want to be open that late on a Saturday and a Sunday. Again, I assume you did your research on massage parlors, that they do well on Saturday nights and Sunday nights. I don't know.
I'm anticipating growing the business.
Okay.
I'm not there to just be there by myself, and I want to open a business in the community and want to
No,
grow the
I
business.
think we understand that, but
So I'm
unfortunately,
anticipating.
yeah, we
longer-
did. There's been some problem with there before, and again, if Joe has made you aware of it, that's probably why you're here tonight. You want to speak, Joe?
Yeah, if I could just say, I think some of the people, maybe they some don't, but I've been in business since 1988, doing property management, Crisscross Deli. And we didn't tolerate Brian stuff once we knew what was going on, and we just said we wouldn't do it the same thing again. I mean, we got 10 families above there that if there's any complaints, they're gonna tell us right away. And any neighbors and anybody here knows where to find me, I'm pretty easy to find. Again, if there's any problems, we're gonna nip it in the bud quick, because I have been around here a long time, I've got a lot of money invested into the city, a lot of time invested into the city, and I've been here for a long time, and reputable businessman, I've never had any problems with the city, and I intend to keep it that way.
Thank you. Any other comments? Tia?
Yes. Thank you. I did have a couple comments. You said that you were going to manage the day-to-day operations until you got going to have some sort of the ability to pay somebody to run it. What's the travel time between here and Jewett City?
45 minutes.
Okay. We've had the opportunity since your attorney was here before to talk to your city solicitor, so, Mr. Josek, do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make?
I apologize if this is repetitive. Do you have, or do you intend to have a licensed massage therapist on the premise at all times?
Absolutely.
And do you have someone lined up currently? And what is that person's name?
Chris, Corinne Roberto.
We have a license right here.
If you could submit that to the president, that would be great.
We need the license back. We need the license back.
And just to put in the record, September of last year, which was a short 6 months ago,
Okay, shall we?
I'll use my voice. So, 6 months ago, this council took action to revoke the license of your predecessor. Mr. Dempsey was not a fire. The council actually revoked his license. And the reason that the revocation took place was there were people living there. And there was evidence of drug paraphernalia. There were businesses operating outside the hours permitted. And there was no evidence of a licensed massage therapist. So it's important for you to be aware of these conditions. Do you anticipate anybody living or sleeping at this establishment?
No, I don't.
To the landlord, just a brief question. Are you aware that our city code of ordinances will hold you personally liable and will find you guilty if there's any nuisance activity, including instances of disorderly conduct or prostitution happening at this establishment?
I'm sorry, am I aware that I'm gonna be liable?
I just wanted to make sure you understand, because of what happened in September, that you can be held liable and found guilty under city law for incidences of disorderly conduct, lewdness, or things like prostitution happening at this place of business. Are you aware of that?
Well, if I'm not aware of everything, I can't control it, but as soon as I do get aware of it, then we will control it and nip it in the bud quick. Like I said, I'm not gonna take any chances of ruining my reputation or my building or my business.
Thank you.
Just one last question for the owner of the building, and actually business owner. Would you be willing to agree to monthly inspections by code enforcement and or police department, just to ensure that licenses are up to snuff? The previous tenant, we had some difficulty once we revoked the license, actually getting them to close. I don't know if you're aware of that, but Major Boskowski, would you like to speak to that?
There was 12 different instances between 2009, 2010, 2011, in which the business was operating without a license. And again, it's obviously a concern. There's different instances of times where the police department responded. There was an employee there, would not let the police in. So obviously it's a concern. And the fact that that business was operating without the license shows no regard for authority of the council or the police department. And over the course of the years, between 2009 and 2013, responding to that location 52 times for calls of service is a tremendous waste of manpower for a business supposed to be here to benefit the community. And that's obviously the concern of the police department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Is there a way that we can, if there is a problem or violation or something like this with the police department, they can notify the owner of the building like us? Because I've never been notified of any of that stuff, so is there a way that if they send a letter to him, that they can send it to me, or?
Well, I have probably a phone call, but I think, Joe, you have your chance now. You are the owner of the building to make your decision. I mean, did you do your background check on a gentleman before you, and on that type of business? That's okay. You shouldn't have any concerns then.
Right, but if there's problems.
The onus is on you, Joe. I don't think it's on our police department or,
No, but I'm saying if there's any violations with housing or anything, they can notify these building owners also.
well, hopefully there shouldn't be. But I would assume the police department knows how to get a hold of you. I would think. I'd like to address my colleagues. My concern is the hours at this point. I think 9 to 6 is fine. I don't even think you need to be open on a Sunday. That's my opinion. I see no point in being open on a Sunday. And 9 to 6 to me is sufficient. I mean, unless fellow council members, maybe one night, 9 to 9 or something, that's, fine. But that's just my personal opinion. Sundays, I see no need why you should be open. Again, that's my opinion. So, if you want, we have a licensing board, we can dictate the hours. And then it's up to you to prove you're doing everything you're saying in front of this council, that you will comply. And feel the same with you. You're responsible too. Pleasure?
Yeah, so again, I didn't hear an answer to the question. Earlier, would you be willing to allow for code enforcement and or police to do monthly inspections to make sure that licenses were up to snuff?
Yeah, I heard that, what you just said about Brian not having any license and operating, and I did not even attempt to open this without going through the channels to try to obtain the proper license, but it was open, so.
You want to continue, Sean? Yeah.
Is it possible we can get an address to this? We're not able to find it.
It's on the, if you were to go into the, which I did, if you were to go into the Department of Health website, under the appropriate place for licenses, I believe that name would pop up.
So we just looked Ms. Luberto up, and she has it listed as an address unknown. So if you could provide her address.
I don't have mine, but address, that's all. It was in West River.
What is the council's pleasure as far as hours go? Would you be willing to, first of all, not open on Sundays and reduce your hours to 9 to 6?
I would consider not opening up on Sundays. That would be fine.
Okay.
It's not my preference, but then again,
Okay.
it's your call. But I wouldn't want to have to close at 6. I would want a few hours of
Okay.
nighttime.
Okay.
Just trying to get it.
Even 9 to 9, it's certainly better than what you originally had to midnight. Your
Just
original.
trying to be competitive with the hours.
Okay. Yeah.
I recommend Monday through Friday, 10 to 8, because I feel that if you do work till 5 or 6, you go home, take a shower, grab something to eat, have an appointment by 7. I don't really see anyone going for massage therapy 8 p.m. or later. Maybe Saturday, 10 to 6, that way they are open and available on weekends.
No Sunday.
No, but even then, I feel like.
Even 9 is kind of early.
Yeah.
9 a.m. I mean,
Yeah, that sounds good. One other thing, Mr. Durzik, would it be possible to consider like a probationary period by which we could grant a license like this and then revisit it after, say, 6 months? Is that an option?
You could grant a license and then review it for revocation at a later point, but you can't issue a conditionary license or a probationary license.
So if we granted it, we could put the condition in there that with these conditions, we could revoke it? Is that what you're saying?
You can limit the conditions of the business, correct?
I don't want to put you on the spot, Pat. But it appears, and I'll address this to my fellow colleagues, at this point, we have no reason to deny a license. Correct? There really is no reason. However, we can dictate the hours. Would that be fair to assume?
The council is the policy-making body for the city, and it's up to you to determine whether you have reason to grant or not grant a license for the city. That's not my purview.
Correct. But legally, I don't think, fellow council members, that we have anything in front of us that could deny this gentleman a license. That's my opinion. However, I think we should put restrictions on the hours and certainly no Sundays. That would be my opinion. I like Tammy's idea of 10 to 8, 10 to 6 on Saturday, and of course, no Sundays.
And, sorry, Council President. So to my point, can we put additional conditions such as, like the inspections and things like that as part of our license? Is that something we can do?
If the applicant consents, yes.
I don't know how much undue burden we can continually put on with, I mean, but we can review after 6 months, see if there's no incidents, if, you know.
But as far as inspections,
I don't think it's fair to put an extra burden on him. He's here in good faith, I believe. That's my opinion. I think the fact that he's consenting to the reduced hours and no Sundays seems to be doing his part, and your part is to run a nice business once you get your license, and the onus is on you. That, you know, I don't know if we should put an unfair burden on him either.
Do we not have the right to inspect anytime we want anyway, code enforcement or the police?
With cause, we can generally only under a complaint. With that, how does that sound? 10 to 8 on weekdays, 10 to 6 Saturdays, and no Sundays. That would be the hours of operation. Any further comments? Well, that's stipulation. I do hope you understand. With that, looking for a motion. Okay, let's have a roll call vote.
Councilman Parrott?
Yes.
Councilman Figueroa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Johnson? Yes. Councilwoman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rustino Seco?
yes.
Thank you. Best of luck, and again, it's up to you to run a tight ship. Thank you.
Item number 7.